So a very warm welcome to everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you may be. I know in terms of people that have signed up, we've got people from various different countries in the world. My name is Lloyd Skinner. I'm the CEO of Greyfly.ai. We've been working in this area of AI and project management for almost 4 years now. And today, as you can see, we're going to talk about, can AI be used to increase project success, and in particular looking at the barriers and benefits of implementing AI in project management. As well as an audience that is from around the world, I'm really fortunate enough to have some experts from around the world as well. In 1 second, I'll ask them to introduce themselves. But before that, I'm just going to very quickly skip through the agenda that we're going to do today. So we've got 90 minutes. And at the end of the 90 minutes, I'm going to try and make sure there's plenty of time, at least 15 minutes or so at the end, to cover off any Q&As before we ask the panelists for their conclusions. Also, about midway through the discussion, we're going to take a poll. We're going to ask a question around what people believe the main barriers are to implementing AI in project management. The rest of the discussion will be very much a discussion amongst the panel as opposed to questions and answers. And you can see we're going to talk about the applications, the use cases, and the benefits of those use cases before sort of discussing around the challenges and the barriers. And then after the poll, we'll look at the case study as well. So with that in mind, we'll be watching the clock and trying to keep us to the clock. There is the ability to raise Q&As as you go, so please raise those and we'll curate those towards the end. If we're going through really quickly, we might look at those questions and answers as we go, but the intention is to look at them at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to ask the panelists to introduce themselves. Ahmed, do you mind kicking off and just giving us a little potted history, as it were?
Thank you very much, Lloyd. I will not repeat what's written on the screen, but I'll add to it. I'm a practitioner I used to be head of project management, established a project management department back in 2006 in Khatib al-Alami, which is a 6,000 plus employees across the Middle East region and the world. I'm also an associate professor of digital leadership, digital strategy. So a mix between practice and theory is found in my profile.
Excellent. Bruno?
Hello, everyone. My name is Bruno Morgante, and I used to introduce myself with I solve problems and deliver results, which is what I actually do. I am the global head of PMO at the Adecco group, and I am in the project management profession since roughly 17 years in different positions. In particular, during the last 7 years, I focused myself in building and leading successful PMOs. And I'm very happy to be part of this conversation today.
Fantastic. And over to you, Bill.
Yeah, thank you. Good. Yeah, Bill Dell, 30 plus years of hands-on experience. I've ran 10 PMOs across 4 different companies, been a speaker around the world. I've written 6 books. Just very, very passionate, and I'm really happy to be here as well.
Excellent. Before we move on and into the detailed conversation, if I may ask you, chaps, when I invited you to talk about AI and project management, what was your sort of immediate view, your immediate stance about that? Bruno, I'm going to start with you this time.
Yeah, well, for me, AI is coming. AI is coming, and is coming in not only impacting project management, it is coming and impacting several aspects of our lives. So I'm definitely interested in see and look how this would enter into the project management world, which is very close to my heart, of course. So I definitely was happy to take the opportunity to be here and have this conversation with you.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And Bill, what's your immediate?
Yeah. Well, my gut reaction is yes, it's coming, but slow down. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of ChatGPT and BART, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on there. But when you unpack what's being said, I think it's good, and there's a lot of goodness to it, but I think there's a lot of hype to it as well.
Can I just quickly give Bill the award for mentioning ChatGPT in the first 5 minutes of the conversation?
Oh, 3 or 4.
Yeah. We'll keep a tally as we go, shall we? Ahmed, and over to you. What's your immediate thoughts?
Well, hearing it's coming, it's a bit disturbing. For me, it has come. It's not coming anymore. And as we will see, and when we go across of discussion, we already implementing AI in many of the setup and configurations that we do for project management. And when we talk about project management here, I mean large-scale projects. I mean a project that starts from its origins from business development. Then we pass through the tendering and bidding and concept design and so on, until we finalize the operational maintenance. So we already in the process. We developed internally many tools, and we are in the development and many others. We have a roadmap, let's say a long roadmap into that, and we're doing it.
Fantastic. Okay, so we've got a bit of a mixed bag there between it's coming. If it is coming, be wary slightly, or, you know, work out what it is and take yourself forward. And, you know, from Ahmed, it's here today. So, you know, just to add my little voice to that, well, funnily enough, I think it's here today as well. And it's about making it better. And we can talk about what making it better means, and making sure that we're getting value and not leaving our people behind and all of that sort of stuff. So I'm now going to start talking about, well, okay, in that space, you know, where is it coming? What does it mean, if you like? And I think just because Ahmed was talking about it a moment ago, I'm just going to ask Ahmed just to start in terms of what you see as the major applications, Ahmed.
So if we take the project life cycle and how we start large-scale projects, we usually start from the business development, looking at background of the clients, and if we want to submit for a bid, or we want to go for some leads, and then we go for background checking for screening for the clients, and we submit or not. And then after that, we filter the client and say, yes, we will submit, and we submit. And then we do all the, you know, bidding process and so on. So looking at or searching for the background of the client. Sometimes we worked with a client 10 years ago and we forget what happened with that client. And when we have AI in place, it will immediately jump and tell us, watch out, guys, because you have a problem. This client might not accept variation orders. This client might ask for details later on that is not there in the bid. This client might ask for shop drawings or BIM 4D, which is not part of the original RFP. So all these, we will forget them. But if we have an AI employed, whenever the client name comes into the picture, the AI will tell us, okay, now you have these kind of cautions and risks. Now, again, because AI learns from what we're doing, so whenever we work with the client and we record the new, let's say, input and info, the AI will add to it. So maybe the experience with this client this time is different, or even it's worse. So it will add it to the information bank or data bank that we have. And in the future, it will learn and tell us something different. It's not the same thing that it told us when we bid for this project. So this is at the beginning.
Yeah.
When we started.
Just 1 second, Ahmed, if you don't mind, just a couple of clarifications there, because not all of the audience may be from a construction background. So, but the point for me is your words about this is at the beginning of a project. And dare I say it, actually, some of your words there were even before the project went live. You know, you were talking about the sales process. Now, I know there's other elements, and we'll come back to those in 1 second, but I wouldn't mind just bringing in Bill or Bruno there about their thoughts about at the beginning of the project life cycle or pre-projects there.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So construction's very different, IT's very different, research is very different, right? So we're going to have to approach this customer in a very different way. We're not going to do, say, in IT, and I've worked across multiple industries, so I'm not just putting an IT hat on here, but in IT, for this example, we're not going to do that research of that customer. And some of those things, Ahmed, you said are amazing, but they could be done in a database. They could be done in a software product that basically details out the characteristics of a customer. You're going to have an access database that says, here's your customer and all the goodness and badness of that customer. I'm not seeing how AI would play a role in that just yet.
Yeah, I would take it from here, Bill. The two things I would say. So the first one is I definitely see benefits of using these predictive analytics before the project even starts to evaluate what potentially would be the outcome of that project. Or in other words, does it make sense to start the project in the way we are setting it up, or should we act on it and do some changes? Which this second part is the tricky one, which at the moment I don't see it available. That's why I'm saying it's coming. But then the other element, which is yeah, well, technically you can already do it. Like you can do already predictive analytics with a database, as you said, Bill, and then implementing some rules and some. The point is implementing the rules. Like you would have to invest quite an effort in designing those rules and implementing those rules, which then after a while would become obsolete. And what is the expectation is that an AI system is actually learning those rules by itself and updating these rules with the time. So in other words, you don't do a big effort at the beginning and you do say, okay, now it's ready. I will use this tool forever. But then you know it's not going to work forever and you have to keep it updated. While the expectation is that an AI system is actually going to learn by itself and update those rules.
Yeah, I think what Bruno's referring to there is machine learning. So you know, the machine learning that you can apply, you know, and Bill's right as well. You know, the database is probably the start. You know, you got to have the data in the first place as well, but then you can start applying machine learning, and as Bruno said, then the machine, as it gets more intelligent, can learn what those rules are as well. I mean, Ahmed, it was your point originally. What do you think of Bill's and Bruno's points?
Well, to be honest, the both points are correct when we come into practice. So let us say if we implement an ERP system, and in the ERP system we have full database, and if I want to bid for a client and I can dig, but this comes like a manual. It's going to be a manual. So the person working will be digging for the information regarding the client, and then the system has the information and the system will provide the information. However, when we talk about an automated process and an AI and machine learning in place, it doesn't need me to go and dig for the information. So whenever I select a client, immediately the information will come to me, and it will come in a learning process. So whenever I add anything to it, it will immediately update the rules as Bruno correctly said, and it will provide me with the new set of, let's say, steps that I need to take while I talk to this client. So yes, it is, database can help, but adding the AI touch on it and the machine learning touch on it will provide me with smarter and more automated responses that I can use in the decision-making process.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, and I'll just segue quickly. You know, if we think about lessons learned around a project, and now I know, you know, there's a process in its own right, but you know, and I'm not necessarily saying this is the whole process, but when it comes to lessons learned, most organizations try and shoehorn the, you know, the project proposal. Have you learned your lessons from the previous projects? Now, if you could somehow tie those lessons learned into the project proposals and the knowledge base, that as you're carving out the new business case or the new project proposal, then that could be really powerful. And then, you know, again, not just the flat database view. I don't know, this was a property project, speak to this property project, but there are more features, more attributes that you could link together. Then that would become even more powerful, would it not?
Yeah,
Well,
it's
that's
sorry, it certainly would though, over time though, right? It's over time. And so when Bruno says it's coming, it's a long game. It's not a short game. We don't have this information, right? Even right now for my lessons learned, like you just talked about it, I require that my PMs do lessons learned from the beginning of the project to the end of the project.
Yeah.
Okay, so very beginning. But that's time. That takes
Yeah.
time. So all that goodness that you're talking about there will take time.
Well, I think
Over a period of time, we'll have it.
I think the other thing about lessons learned is I'm just about to get ChatGPT Award 2 in a second, but is that they tend to be, you know, let's call them handwritten. You know, there's less classification around them. So you know, you need to interpret them. But actually, for me, that's where AI comes in again, because you can more rapidly interpret the lessons applied, you know, applying the right type of technology to pull those lessons out. And I think the question of time is a really interesting one, Bill, for me, because it sort of depends what data is in place in the first place. You know, if you built up your lessons learned database, or you've built up the outturns of your projects, then it's more about how can you access that and how can you apply that, assuming the data quality is of a reasonable standard. Ahmed and Bruno, anything else to add to that?
Well, the only thing I would add, which is, again, I mean, it goes probably one step further, but I still do believe it's one of the benefits of applying AI in project management, and it is related to what you said. So lessons learned. Now, when you apply natural language processing to that, well, it's not only the content, but it is the flavor. It is the reading between the lines that is actually going to provide those additional set of data and information that at the moment we either ignore or don't read. And this is going to be powerful as well. So I absolutely believe, of course, you can also apply the same now we are talking before project. We are talking about the preparation phase, not even the initiation phase, but then it's something that absolutely you can apply later on. So that definitely is a thing.
You know, and again, you know, if you've got enough knowledge about the likely outcome of a project while it is in that preparation stage or that sales stage, you know, if you go to one extreme, you might not even approve the project in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And another thing maybe we can add here, Lloyd, is capturing lessons learned is usually a lengthy process. And it's usually nobody likes it. So if you tell any of the proposal teams, project teams, they hate doing lessons learned. So if we implement an AI-based routine that can capture the lessons learned based on the interactions we have with the client, or with the, let's say, if we have we're in a JV, or we're in a agreement in a consortium, or so on, or if we go even in a bigger scope, where we're in an SPV, where we have a PPP project. So all these lessons learned, if they are captured by an intelligence system, and then they will be summarized within the project history, it will help a lot. Now, this is one step, and there's other thing is, and when I started, I said we're talking about large-scale projects, and there is always a problem in the handover of information from proposal stage into execution stage. And as Bruno correctly said, we're still in the preparation. We did not even initiate the project. But there's always a handover problem. But if we have a system that can capture all this and put it in a smart way and submit the handover report, or let us say handover information to the execution team, and then again it will continue capturing the lessons learned or the experiences that will happen across the coming stages. Everyone will feel happy and will feel relieved from looking for the data from a proposal. They did not give it to me. It was a communication that was done by email, not mention the contract. So all these kind of hassles happen in the project. If we have a system that can smartly do this for us, we will have a lot of success, more, and let's say less failure in projects.
So in summary, I think with some caveats, we're sort of saying that some of the application and benefits are pre-project, and in that, so Bruno called it the preparation stage, or whether in some organizations that might be the sales stage, or the shaping stage. But also, as you're moving into business case, we also touched on things about linking in with lessons learned. We touched in some of the benefits around communications itself. Let's now sort of skip the divide slightly and assume the project's approved, and we're into delivery. But Bruno, do you want to start this one just in terms of we're more into delivery side now. Do you see some application of AI in delivery stage?
Yes, of course. I used to say that we would be sooner or later to be in a position of leaving the boring stuff of a project to AI, so that we can use our project managers to focus on other things, like on the human aspect of it, like in gathering the people together and ensuring that the communication is properly done and in place and so on. Now, when I say the boring stuff, clearly, I could think about project scheduling. I could think about risk management. I could think about, and that would be a big Pandora's box that I don't know if we want to open, that is the resource allocation, which I have never met anyone telling me we do it great in our company. So these are definitely three things that an AI system would help a project while it is in execution. That's for sure. Three elements that I can put on the table.
Excellent. So,
well, let me jump in, because I'd like to unpack that a little bit. I think it's only fair to basically open that Pandora's box, and so I'd like to understand that a little bit more. So we actually do resource management pretty well. So you guys can say, actually, Bill does do it very well. We have Project Online. We have timesheets. We have 5-6 years worth of data. We have amazing Power BI reports that tell us exactly what people are working on across projects, across time off. And so we do it very well. And so tell me tactically how AI is going to help me with that.
Does that look forward as well, Bill, in terms
Yes,
of
it does. It looks forward. Yeah. It looks forward and looks backwards.
So, as you take a monthly progress report, it includes not just time and cost, it also includes the resource dimension as well.
Yes.
Excellent.
We have great Power BI dashboards that show amazing resource allocation across projects and time off. And so, again, timesheet data, so real timesheet data. Tell us how AI will help me with resource management.
So from my perspective, and I'll see what the other guys say, for me, it's about that independent assurance piece, because and apologies, this is general statements. Generally, projects don't deliver to time budget, as it were, and there is streams and streams of research to back my statement up
Yeah.
that says that. Now, I'm not saying in your particular environment that is correct. But for me, where one application of where AI could come in around resources would be that independent view in real time to say that that resource plan is the most likely outcome for that particular project. Now, I think there are other applications to AI, but that would be my view. I mean, Ahmed, what about you from your point of view?
There's more than one dimension when we look at resource planning. So the process itself, and then the details of the process. So the process itself is usually time-consuming, and it's hardly to manage, because when we talk about projects, especially, and I'll talk about the projects in the Middle East region, where the client is changing design or changing project components on daily basis. Which means that variations to the projects happening on daily basis, which means that resource allocation is happening to the project on daily basis. So the project manager and the planning team, they usually suffer from this process, because every day we need to add new components, add more resources, or remove some components, remove more resources, and so on. So a prediction of what's happening on the resource planning, if it's in place, as Bruno said, it will help us a lot, or it will help the project manager say, hey, look out, from the past 2 weeks you've worked on this project, you changed the baseline of the program and the resource planning for like 2 times now. Every week you changed once. So you need to anticipate now, because asking for more resources is not something that's going to be handy and out of the door, and when you ask for it, you get it, because it's a process in the company. You need maybe to hire some resources. So if we take it from now and do a forecast from now till the end of the stage, or now till the end of the project, and see how many times that we're going to add components to the projects, not remove components from the project, and then this means that you will need this much of resources and this in these expertise. So it's better for you to prepare for it, and this forecast is going to be updated week after week. So this is one of the aspects that can be taken into consideration.
So almost enhancing the efficiency further. So building on Bill's great ecosystem is, I think, what you're saying.
But that's a change. But that's a change management problem. That's a scope management problem. That's not an AI resource forecasting problem. If the project changes, force a change control process in place. Right, there's still 8 hours, or depending on the country, there's still only 8 hours in a day that an individual is going to work on a project, and so forecasts won't change based on scope. What that would be a change control, and then you would implement, and then the forecast would change. So I would have to get a better change control process in place.
I like the argument, Bill, and thank you for it. Now, what's happening? Yeah, because to be honest, yes, you're playing the devil advocate here, and this is really good for our audience also. So what's happening here? It is a changing process, and it is normally happens. But what the AI role can help the project manager, or maybe if we talk about large scale projects, it will help the senior leadership of the company, is to go and look for resources, because we will know from what's happening today that the client will ask for more resources, and will have more components. So what AI will tell us, hey, guys, you better go and look for new CVs, get them ready, so that you can, because what's happening here, I see a risk of adding more resources to the project in these areas. So for example, if we're working on a design of an airport, it's not easy to find an airport expert right away when we just click a button. No, we need to prepare for this. If we're working on a desalination project, or if we're working on STPs or any infrastructure project, it's not easy to find people. So if there is a system that tells me from now till the next few months, I will face a wall with the client asking me to find experts. So it's better for me to go and prepare for this information now, and have it ready, not implementing it, but just having it ready.
Okay, so I like that. I like that a lot. And I could see that predicted. Now, not every resource is the same. Not every skill set's the same. So if you took that to an airport or to an IT project, go find me 5 developers. Those 5 developers are going to have very different skill sets. But what you're saying, and I get that, is there's a prediction that I may need 5 developers. So that's fair. That is definitely a use case where you could see that being valuable. More of a resource manager. Yes, there's a project manager component of that, but in a lot of cases, you'd go to the resource manager and says, my project's predicting needing 5 more developers, go get them.
But for me, it's back to that augmenting. It's pushing that
Yeah.
ecosystem to the next stage. Bruno, look what you've started here, buddy. Look, come back in and give us your view.
No, I think a lot have been said. I would just add to the example of the 5 developers. If you are in a company with not too many resources and you just have these 5 developers and they are spread across multiple projects, you might start the new project saying, okay, I'll need 1 developer. Let's assume the simple case. They all have the same skills, okay? Yep. And then you say, okay, I have so the line manager of the developers will tell you, yeah, PM, no problem. I have John, he's available and he will support you. But then with the passing of the time, one of the other projects is actually getting delayed, being, whatever problem, and they actually need that developer over there. If the line manager is actually not raising the hand and going to the PM and say, hey, I'm sorry, John is not available anymore. In the moment in which the PM needs John is not there, and then you have a gap. Now, this is something that a system that is looking at all of those variables at the same time would say, hey, there is a warning that developer is never going to be available because that project is delayed. And if we continue that project as it looks like, you'll need someone else. So this is, again, it's not going to remove a roadblock, but it is potentially proactively telling you, you are going to face a problem very soon. You need to act before it is a problem. That's an example that I can see, of course. I
think also, our conversation today has been more possibly on the predictive side, and it depends on your definition of AI, but there's also the automation side, so the workflow and increasing the efficiency of the workflow. So I'm going to stick to this resources challenge a second, but I can see that that potentially you could increase the efficiency of the workflow by driving through some AI type applications, so whether that's your view that these chat bots and those sort of virtual assistants drive that workflow through. But in my mind, there's almost a different a paradigm there in terms of what AI is as well. I mean, do you guys have any views around that?
Well, if I may jump into this, and this is what I meant when we started. I said it has come, it is not coming. So this is one of the things that we use internally. Since we're a consultant, we're doing architectural and infrastructure design. So we use AI to improve efficiency and optioneering to our clients. So, for example, we developed our own generative design program, where in this generative design program, for example, if I want to start a building in an urban planning setup and say, I want to see the best view for this building to the sea, and we have the building in a compound setup. Then if I want to see, for example, which elevation faces the sun, or what will be the best energy efficient, let's say, design for this building that will save on the total cost of the project, then I will go also in the total cost of the materials. So we're using some of these aspects that I talked about already, and we calculate. The AI helps a lot, and AI and machine learning help a lot in optimizing the design and providing more options to the client. So instead of having like a team of 5 people or 6 or 7 or whatever concept designers working on a project, we can have one person, one designer with the help of the generative design, which is AI and machine learning enabled. It will provide us with more options to the client with faster and less time. So instead of spending 3 weeks, we can do a 1 week, but with more options.
I've just been reminded, if anybody has any Q&As, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A section, and we'll look to address those later. But Ahmed, that's fantastic, and obviously that's at the design stage, and just extend that slowly into digital twins and that type of application, and then I'll bring Bill and Bruno back in. Sure.
So when we start any design process, and we're talking about construction engineering here, usually we start using a digital modeling, or we call it BIM information modeling, or BIM. And this BIM is not smart. So it's a tool that will, or it's an environment that will let us design the building in a 3D mode, but with information. So instead of we build a 20 centimeter line, we call it a wall. We call it a feature or a wall. So this wall, it has some information stored within it. Now, when we build this, and the concept of making a digital, let's say, digital copy of the building that will be constructed later on, this is what we call a digital twin. So we build the whole model in the BIM environment, and then when we start the construction, we can start linking the digital model with the physical model on the ground by putting some smart devices or smart sensors, and we call them IoTs, or Internet of Things sensors. So once we connect the two, and we have done this in one of the projects in Oman. You know, in Oman, for example, we know that every year they have a hurricane that comes and destroys many areas there. And this project was a high profile project, a governmental one, and they wanted to understand if the hurricane will come, what will happen to the project. And then what we did is we built the whole digital model. Then when we start the construction, before we start construction, we run analysis and scenarios on the model if the hurricane will come, or from different angles, or different strength powers, and so on, what will happen to the physical model. And then when we start the physical model, we put the sensors, so anything happens on the ground will immediately be reflected on the BIM model, and the designer or the landlord can immediately say, okay, what mitigation measures we can have on the digital model, which we can reflect later on the physical model. So I don't want to go into more details. Just keep it as this level.
The point is, the application of AI in project management isn't just about prediction. It isn't just about making the most of lessons learned or risks, or applying that into your plans. Yes, that is a fundamental part, but you can see there's other elements there, you know, whether it's the driving the efficiency, or it's the digital twin, or you're almost, you know, taking prototype and taking it the next step. Bruno, Bill, any views on what Ahmed's saying there?
Yeah, again, construction, amazing. I mean, you know, we've been doing AutoCAD, and we've had designs, we've had that, you know, for many, many years now, where we could see these designs of what these buildings would look like. I don't know if we could apply hurricanes against them, and the IoT devices have certainly changed the dynamics of facilities and you know, where we're going from the data that's flowing in from an IoT device. But yeah, I mean, obviously Ahmad's in an amazing space with facilities. Again, we have to look broad though, right? Project management's broad, and one of the things that we really think about in the execution of a project is project management's as much of a people business than it is around the science and around the data. And I think sometimes when we think about how AI can help, Certainly it could write code and augment some of what the developers do. Totally get that. But I don't want us to forget the importance of the people side of running a project and dealing with that component, the art and science of project management. And so that was one thing too, that when you talk about execution, I really do think we have to think about the people.
Yeah. I'm just gonna, there's one of the questions I just wanted to bring in here, and it's from Gareth McBain, and he says, I'd like to get to the things that are the main delivery constraints, like risk. I believe modeling outcomes against predictions with the ability to change input factors will lead to much better success rates for delivery. What's your thoughts? Bruno, do you want to take that one? The question is in the chat, if you can see it there.
Yeah, I'm reading it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely, it is one of the three elements that I mentioned before when I said risk management. This is clearly one of the things that I believe AI would help. Again, it is about prediction. It is about based on the knowledge of data that we have from past projects and current projects, but in the past, have a prediction about what is going to happen, and if it is about a risk, flagging it in advance so that we can put in place the right mitigation for that. And this is, again, I mean, is it something that we can do without AI? Yeah, of course we can. I just believe AI would help us to do it in a faster and more efficient way.
Okay. Now you mentioned data, and I'm just conscious of time, so I've got to be careful here, because Bill is obviously going to give us lots of challenges around this. Yeah, but you know, because you mentioned data, Bruno, can you just talk a little bit more about the importance of data in this space?
Yes, definitely. About data, there are plenty of things that we could say, and probably we will say. When I think about the challenges and the barriers, I always say that at the moment, it might change very soon, but at the moment, the biggest barrier that I see is the poor data literacy of a lot of companies out there, which then basically would go and touch different things. One would be having the people in charge, the management team, the executives, not actually looking into data when they take decisions. That would be one element. And the second one would be, because of that, companies not using data, or so having not enough data, not clean data, poor data quality. So that would be another element. And all of that is under the umbrella of, okay, well, that's not a company using data for their decision and for their day-to-day life. Well, then how would you apply a system that actually needs data to learn and to work into an environment like that one? So that would be definitely of course, it's a summary. We definitely can talk in details about all of those points.
So data, one of the biggest challenges, and certainly, you know, I speak to lots of people in this space, and it's the sort of go-to answer in terms of what's stopping us going forward. And anything to add on that, Bill and Ahmed, in terms of just sticking to the data point for one moment?
Yeah, just sticking to the data point. There's a lot of process around the data. So data is one thing, get it, but there is all that maturity and that process to get that data in place. If you don't have the maturity around the process, then data be damned, right? It's you got to have the processes to get you that ongoing flow of data. And then to Bruno's point is, you have to make decisions based on that data. And once you start, and once PMs start feeling that their leadership and their management is going to make decisions based on that data, then the processes will fall in place And right, but it's really a process conversation when it comes to data.
Yeah, I would concur with that. We've all heard garbage in, garbage out, all of those type of stuff, and processes create the data. So I agree with that. I mean, Ahmed, I think you may come more from the people side as well in terms of the challenges.
Sure, and I'll maybe I would like to join them both. So organizations in our world right now, they all look to be data driven and people focused. So both aspects are important. So for example, I'll just give a simple example. We all work with Microsoft Teams, and we run our projects, collaborations through Microsoft Teams. And in Microsoft Teams, people post a humongous amount of data. This is one. And they also post a big amount of, let's say, communication data, not project data, or let's say fixed data. So having an AI can analyze both, can analyze the people side and see, for example, how many of the communication happening between people are or is project oriented, and how many of it, for example, is personal or rubbish or whatever. So it will tell me, for example, Ahmed is working on the project, but Bill is maybe focused on his personal issues during all the discussions that he's putting in his teams with all the people that are working. While, for example, Bruno is more focused on supply chain management from all the communication that the AI sees in the teams. He's always communicating with, getting offers, solicit them and recommend. So different people doing different things, but we don't know this. If we have a system that can generate reports at the end of the day to the decision makers, and I see Bill start smiling here, so it will help a lot.
I mean, for me, this does go back to the sort of challenges here that the soothsayer amongst us is very much the ethical side of things, the impact on us as humans. Will it displace our jobs? Maybe I shouldn't have used the term soothsayer. Maybe those people that are resisting the change more, and humans are different, and everything can't be predicted, and all of that sort of stuff. And I just go back to, I went to a talk by, I don't know what his title was, but it's called him the Chief Inspector of AI in the police force in the UK. And he gave a fascinating talk about the ability to predict where crimes are. And that was based on all of the data that they were gathering. And he said, look, obviously the last 5%, you can't predict that. But I can tell you, Lloyd, he wasn't just talking to Lloyd, it was the whole audience, I can predict exactly the patterns of where crimes will take place. Now, I always take that as a really insightful point of view about predicting projects and the outcome of projects and the outcome of human nature, if you like. So for me, and I think we've touched on this a little bit about, it's about making the most of this sort of technology and augmenting the human. But undoubtedly, one of the challenges at the moment is resistance to change, as it were. So any views on that from people?
Yeah, I sure, I'll jump in. I think the resistance of change is because people haven't figured out what's in it for them. When you think about organizational change management, that ProSci and Connor and all the various models out there, the fundamental is changing the hearts and minds of people. They need to figure out what's in it for them. Yeah. And so if you could figure that out, this will be adopted much more quickly.
Well, there's a great question actually that's been raised about, how can you prepare for this? Do you foresee training and certification being put in place? Obviously I have a view, but Bill, what's your view on that one?
Oh, I think we have to prepare for it. And I am definitely not anti-AI in no means, but what I wanted to really present is the tactical to it, right? Because I believe there's so much hype and there's so much, oh, this is going to do this and this is going to do this. And it's like, really, let's break that down. How does that actually work, right? So I think, yes, I think there's going to be certification. I think companies have to prepare for it. I think we have to seriously spend some time and figure out what's going to work and not work for our respective companies, our PMOs, and our projects.
Well, that's a really good way of going to the last question on that list, actually, in terms of, you know, companies have to prepare, but what do they need to do? Again, Bill, just keep going, you know, in your views, and then I'll bring Ahmed and Bruno back.
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, we have to look at how we're executing projects. What data do we have? What processes are in place? And then when we look at it, and what are we talking about? Copilot from Microsoft? Are we talking about ChatGPT? What products are we talking about that we want to try to implement? Or should we look at all of them? Right? And does a result from Bard, Google's Bard, and a result from ChatGPT, what if they're not the same results? And one project manager's using this one and the other project manager's using that one. We need to standardize and figure out what we're going to use. And then as you execute through our project, what do you get? The predictions of risks. I love that. Looking at probabilities and impacts and exposure scores. I love that ability to be able to do that. Is it valuable at a single project level? Maybe not, but at a PMO running 100, 200 projects, yes, it's extremely valuable. We have that today in Power BI. You don't necessarily need AI, but it could probably give us some better results. So, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry, Bill. So, you know, what can we do today? It almost sounded like get a strategy together, didn't it? So, what's your data strategy, to want of a better term? You know, what exists? What data do you need? What are you going to use it for? What tools are you going to do to collect that data? And then, you know, what outcomes are you expecting? Bruno, do you want to come in here in terms of what a company can do to prepare?
Yes, one of the things that they should do is to don't get taken by the hype of the moment. That for sure. I agree with Bill. Like I see already someone saying, "Yeah, don't worry, my son with ChatGPT will do it in 3 days," and like, yeah, okay, or maybe in 3 hours, or maybe in 30 minutes. I don't know. Like, no, not true. But definitely, it's preparing. Like, and going to a point in which it is clear that this is going to impact our lives, and for some people more, for other less. So the company should, like, don't reject from one side. Don't think, yeah, that's never going to happen. On the same side, at the same time, don't go into, oh yeah, we need to make it happen right now, right here, right now. It takes time. Prepare and try to understand what would be your vision for the future. And of course, it's difficult because this thing is moving very fast. We are not used to that speed. But try to understand where do you see yourself going forward.
Ahmed, what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, I'm a bit more, let's say, inclined towards the essence of organizations. Usually when any business starts, they start with an idea, and kind of a bunch of entrepreneurs, they start an idea and then they start developing and then become big companies, and it's more static and so on. There's always a debate between innovation and entrepreneurship in companies and radical, let's say, traditional or static way of running companies. To maintain innovation and to maintain entrepreneurship within companies, I believe that change management should come from within. So instead of bringing a ChatGPT or bringing another component from the market and put it in the company to let's say implement some AI routines, but if companies can build their capabilities within, and then they start looking at their own processes of what they do and see, okay, how we can add innovation to what we're doing by bringing AI and make an optimization first, and then before moving into, let us say, full automated process. Some processes, maybe they're better to remain manual, not to automate them because they're going to be more complicated. So moving from, let's say, manual dexterity into totally digital dexterity with AI implemented, this is a huge change, and companies usually should pass through a certain process, the natural process, let's say, to achieve it. Now, if companies develop capabilities internally that can implement AI, that can develop AI internally to suit their needs exactly, they will achieve better change than bringing an outside system and just push it through and let everybody shocked, and they need time to adapt, and then the adaptation people will drop and go and might fail, because usually 70% of change management processes fail because of not proper planning and not proper strategizing and implementing.
I love that actually, and you know, in terms of my 2 penneth worth on this, I think the challenges are both hard and soft. So the hard ones, you know, we mentioned data, there's the existing technical infrastructure, there's the, you know, how do you get your hands on that data, and as Bill said, the process is to create that data. On the soft side is bringing the people with you, the change management, but it's also the buy-in at the senior level, and especially, you know, can you imagine you're suddenly challenging some highly experienced program director that his project's going to be double the budget and double the time? You need to prepare for that. I mean, for me personally, this is why I personally advocate that you almost need to run this like a project. You know, we're all experienced project experts here. We've all run big projects, so we know when we go through those projects, we go through a series of stages where we work out what the scope is, we put the team together, we get a baseline plan and a budget, and hopefully it's the right figure, and then we go off and execute it. So for me, you know, in terms of how do you move this forward, for me, I'd be thinking about running it as a project, and I'd just break that down a little bit further, and I'm not saying this is the definite optimum, but perhaps, you know, like a pilot project, maybe in a certain area where you can learn, you know, from any application, and you know, as Ahmed said, how your organization might react to that as well. So, you know, for me, it's about running it as a piece of transformation and monitoring it and managing it and knocking off all of those deliverables as we go. Now, hopefully that makes sense to everybody. We're now just going to stop a second in terms of conversation, and yeah, go on. Sorry,
Lloyd, can I just jump on, because I just want to jump on Ahmed's point. I really liked it, but I think it may not have been caught across the board. So let me just re-summarize what he said, because I really liked it. So the idea was to not bring in ChatGPT, not bring in Microsoft's Copilot, not bring in, and actually build that foundation and that AI expertise in-house. Right, Ahmed? That's what you're saying.
Totally true, yeah.
Which means you would have an AI team, you'd have AI developers, and you would be able to keep all that data in-house. So for example, I'm in healthcare. I can't be sending patient records through ChatGPT. I can't get personal data up into other systems. But what Ahmed said there is, but think about the strategy of a company that would have to change to say, okay, we're going to now have an AI division. We're going to hire an AI vice president, an AI director, AI developers. That's a huge commitment to a company, right, to be able to do that. But Ahmed's point is spot on. I just didn't want to miss that, because that's a huge point.
I definitely, you know, obviously I might be slightly biased in this, but I see that as part of the challenge, you know, that we've had in industry for a long time. Do you insource? Do you outsource? When do you buy a consultant in? Why should you buy a consultant in? And normally, you know, that boils down to either capability, so you're introducing capability that doesn't exist in the organization, or you've got a resource constraint. So for me, I definitely concur, but I think it's part of that strategizing piece and working out what the right balance is, if you like.
But it's different than running it as a project. I totally agree. You need to run it as a project, but it's an organizational shift. It's a company strategy shift.
It's
And
the
then we
step
would look
before.
at, yeah, and then part of that project would be, we'd look at the makeup of an actual project team and go, hey, where's your AI analyst? Where's your AI developer? Right? It can steamroll, or it can steamroll into like this bigger, more complicated thing. So Ahmed, great point.
I'm going to move on, Bill, just because of the interest of time. And I know Sang is literally got his finger on the poll button, as it were. So you can see the poll question there, everybody. And given the debate we were having, it's probably quite an interesting answer we're going to get. So the poll question is about the key driver to implement AI in project management. Sang, can you just bring up the poll for everybody? Thank you. And we'll just give it a little moment. I think it's fairly easy to use these things. So please press your buttons now. And let's see where this is going. Just giving people a little moment. We've got about 40% respondents. Appreciate there's 6 or 7 answers there for you to read through. Let's get a sip of water for those people. Okay, we're starting to stabilize. Any more last stragglers? I think we're just about stabilized there. Okay. So there's a last minute change, but it's pretty much the same thing. So the question was, what is the key driver to implement AI in project management? And you can see that the leading answer is really across 2 there, if you like, which is one about delivering projects at a lower cost and with less overruns. And the second thing is about the potential benefits there. And I think as well as those 2 leading points, conversely, virtually everybody has just answered one of those two answers. Any surprises there, Bruno?
No surprises. I mean, now I can see the results. I'm not surprised that the winning one is a need to deliver projects at lower cost. I think that's the first thing, at least it is the one that it comes to my mind when I think about applying AI in project management. So no surprise for me.
So the number 1 driver is, how do we deliver projects more efficiently?
Yes.
Yeah. Ahmed, any views from you?
Well, I think I concur with Bruno about the results, but I think what people in others they might looking for, maybe all the above. AI is required in all aspects, let's say. And when you look at the competitive landscape, you need AI to help you. When you look how to apply it in other departments, yes, you need AI. Innovation, yes, you need. So maybe the none of the above and the others. Look at all the above, maybe.
Okay, Bill, from your point of view,
I mean, it's kind of a leading question, right? Everyone's going to want a lower cost and, on time, on budget. These are the triple constraints we've been dealing with for years and years. I don't think fundamentally 50% to 39 or 40% is that different. I think people are still in the very early stages of trying to understand the benefits, trying to understand the tactical, right? A lot of project managers are tactical. A lot of PMO managers are tactical. Okay, get it, but how's this going to benefit us? What are we going to do with this? How does it affect my day-to-day? I'm running 5 projects right now. How's that going to help me? Right?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's sort of what's the real case studies here, so if we all have a human desire, and actually I would challenge whether we all really have that human desire to do projects more efficiently. We all have that. It's actually, how can we, you know, use AI to make that happen? So you know, thank you everybody who clicked the buttons to sort of re-establish that actually this isn't about AI. This is about improving projects generally, and Bill's absolutely right. That's something that we've been trying to do for some time. So we're heading towards the you know, the end of the discussion. I did say I wanted to leave 15 minutes to cover off any Q&As. We have covered Q&As as we've gone to some extent. So, but there are a couple of other questions in there that I want to cover off as well. But in terms of use cases, I think, you know, Ahmed started right up the front with use cases. Is there other use cases that we haven't mentioned, guys?
So I'll pick up on the same point where we use AI to improve efficiency or boost innovation or build the capabilities internally. So I'll give an example of what we're doing. We have a team of developers working with me from a knowledge management point of view on the BIM development. So these people are working. One of the initiatives that we're doing is it's difficult, for example, of people working on BIM. I'm a designer. I come, I work. I don't know, the management doesn't know how much time I spend on a productive, let's say, part of the project, rather than, you know, checking things here and there or talking to people. Or so this is something difficult. Or if I put it in a project management format, how to measure the physical progress of the deliverable is usually impossible to happen without an AI, let's say, in place. So what we're doing here in this project, we're developing a program or a plugin that works with BIM, and it shows each and every command, or it tests or examines each and every command that a user puts in the BIM, and what the impact of this command. So if I spend, let's say, 1 hour, and this 1 hour, if I compare this 1 hour as a timeline, let's say if I have a task is made up of 10 hours, so I spend 10% of it. So this 10% is time. Now, physical completion, how much I have done from this 1 hour? Is it like 10% of my task, or is it maybe 50%, or is it 1%? So the AI this is something that is being developed, so it's not finalized yet, but we're hoping that it will tell us exactly that Ahmed is done, let's say, has done 30% of this, while he time-wise he spent only 10%. So physical completion is one of the dilemmas that we all suffer from, and we hope that AI can help us with this. And this is what we work on actually now.
Thanks. Bruno, anything to add in on this one?
Two things. One, that definitely we are looking into, something that we are interested in potentially implementing in future is the predictive aspect across our portfolio of projects, to apply that before the project starts. So in order to understand, is that the right thing to do, and in the right way, or should we touch these, adjust it in a way that it will be successful and deliver the expected outcomes? That is definitely something that we are looking into and that we will be interested in future. We don't have it at the moment, of course. But another aspect that definitely, and I saw there is a question that is actually somehow related to that. It's about how can a PMO prepare for it. Like, that's something that definitely in my PMO we thought about. Would we be nice to have, let's say, a chat GPT for your PMO, something like people are coming to you asking, you know, the same set of information, and you have all this beautiful documentation and training and made available, but nobody's going there. They come to you. Well, what if you have that available as a chatbot to provide this type of information? That might be something that definitely would make make us having a better way of using our time. Yeah.
But Bruno, give an example of that. Give me all the projects that are red. Give me all the projects that are yellow. Give me projects that are running late. Give us some examples of how ChatGPT would save the PMO world.
No, I mean, yeah, definitely that would be also something. But I'm actually thinking about I'm in the company, and yes, I went through the onboarding process, but what I actually is now, I need to get this project through the approval process. What do I have to do? What are the steps? And then from there, like, okay, so now that I have done this, then what would be the next steps? So something that as a chat would basically give you the information that you already have in your, you know, long list of documents and training materials, or list of templates, something that is basically guiding people through that. Yes, but of course within the framework of the company. So it's something, it should be like a tool that needs to be trained based on how that specific company is running projects, or the processes of that company and the documentation of that company. Something like that.
I'm sure there's people investigating use cases around ChatGPT. You know, I mean, we talked about lessons learned earlier. It can, you know, go through lots of verbal statements rapidly and summarize it. You know, it can do that today. So you know, possibly that's one use case. I'm sure there's lots of companies that will be coming up with products in and around this space, not just ChatGPT, but other products, you know, and I don't know, all the Power Automate stuff through Microsoft and all of that good stuff. If I may just indulge people with Greyfly a second. So we built a prediction tool, and we've built it over a period of 14 months worth of data, and that data is got just shy of 300 projects in there now. And what I wanted to allude to is the accuracy of the predictions we're making now. So we track a prediction versus what actually happens, so we know how well the prediction is performing, and it's incredibly high, guys. So back to my point earlier, that things can be predicted. The challenge we've got is not so much, you know, over the last few years was building a product to predict. It's more about, okay, what do you do with that information? If you know the likely outcome before you start a project, or right at the early stage of a project, what do you do about that? And I think that goes full circle into the birthing stage of the project, or the sales stage, or the preparation stage, I think Bruno said. And you know, I think that's one area. But the other thing is, you know, what actions do you take? What interventions do you take? You know, so for me, you know, it's really interesting as we evolve as an organization, that we've gone through that, you know, can we actually build a product that works? You know, we've proven that now. And now it's like, you know, more on that human side, you know, how do you embed that, you know, and address some of Bill's challenges about, you know, the so what question, as it were. So you know, that for me is the exciting piece. And we also, as well as do the prediction, we sort of say why it is as well. What's the driving factors that's leading to that prediction as well? So again, about, well, what do I do with that information? I'm conscious of time, and there's definitely a couple of questions I want to raise here. And then maybe we'll just give 5 minutes to round up at the end as well. And maybe, if you like, when you do your sort of sign off conclusion, that last question about what does the future look like as well, maybe build that into your answer, if I may. I'm just going to pull out, there was one question that I really liked from Claudia here, and it's the last question at the bottom there, which is about automation. Automation is welcomed in my organization by project managers who prefer to spend time in complex process, especially where human interaction is required to negotiate situations. And I love that. This is the point about it augments us to do these more high value stuff, you know, negotiations or decision making or change management, as it were. But it then goes on to say, but machine learning is quite different. Do you see RPA as more tactical versus advanced machine learning investment strategy? So you know, I'll kick that off. For me, there's almost like the efficiency and effectiveness argument here, which is, you know, efficiency about doing things quicker, faster, more, you know, rapidly for the money, and the effectiveness, am I doing the right things in the first place? Which I think is where ultimately humans will remain. Any views on that from the panel at all?
Yes, and I can, if you allow me, also to merge this question with the question before from Lissy, is about the human aspects and cultural intelligence when we talk about people. And this subject is close to my heart because I've done a lot of research and doing a lot of research on cultural intelligence and how this can affect people in the way they work. AI without intelligence will not work, because the whole point of building an AI system or routine is to provide or utilize intelligence to provide people with not only data, but let us say knowledge that people can make decisions out of that. And when we talk about cultural intelligence here, we're not talking about calculations, we're talking about people behaviors and how people behaviors are analyzed, and according to which model they are analyzed and summarized in reports. When we talk about effectiveness, again, effectiveness, we were talking about outcomes from people's behaviors that the system can generate and tell us that, yes, what we're doing here, based on what we have done in the past and we're doing today, tomorrow we will have, you know, we have to follow this path. So I see the two questions are close to each other, and if we deploy, let us say, not utilize, if we deploy a robust model of cultural intelligence in this regard, based on people behavior, not based on values, or not based on races, not based on you know, a static way of doing things, I think we can increase the effectiveness out of the system.
Excellent. Any comments on that from Bill?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Yeah, I think it's a people business, right? I think I said that an hour or so ago. I said we can't forget the people side of this, the relationship side of this, the influence without authority. Yes, we can use, you know, these various tools to augment, but we got to come back to the art of project management, which is relationship and people. And so if we forget that and try to drive too much with tools, we're not going to be successful. You have to balance that.
I think it's really interesting that. Guys, have you seen Tyle's question? It's a little bit further up. It's talking about Elon Musk and tech researchers calling for a 6-month pause on advanced AI systems. Obviously that won't happen, but the point is the implications there, the dangers, and you know, I don't think we can have a discussion without at least touching on this viewpoint, as it were. You know, the ethics of what we're doing here. Bruno, what's your thoughts on the ethics of AI?
I used the news of this morning to scare my wife. She's more on the side of you know, the Skynet and, you know, the joke about, so they only need 6 months to find Sarah Connor, that type of joke. So anyway, I mean, yeah, clearly, as you said, Lloyd, this is not going to pause or stop anyone. But of course, it is a thing. It is a thing, and people should use it to think about that. Like, if this is being put on the table, what does it mean? Like, what are potentially those people
and apply that to a project management setting a second, Bruno. So you know, in terms of the
I don't see any risk on this being applied to project management, as long as we respect what Hamed and Bill said a few minutes ago, which is we need to keep in mind that there is a human factor in it, and that will still be there.
okay.
But we can live together with it. Like, there is a part that we definitely can let go, focusing on something else. Yes.
Fantastic. And Ahmed, Bill, anything else to comment on that just before we ask you to wrap up? We've got 7 minutes to go. So
sure. When we talk about ethics, of course, there are a lot of scandals out there about the use of AI and use of data in AI against people, and misuse of data. And it's easy because you have data, and you can deploy an AI system and use that data, and it's going to be easy without noticing that there are some regulations. So when we talk about ethics in AI, we need to talk about regulations from governments, from national bodies, from organizations. Sometimes, if we're talking about project management body, so maybe from PMI, and then from other project management bodies, and from organizations themselves. So AI needs regulations. If AI goes without regulations, it's going to be a mess, and we will not get the real benefit out of it. And I see Bill already smiling. So Bill, please go on.
Yeah, I love that point, Ahmed. I love it, because what we're seeing AI with images, it could be a mess, right? And what, there's some amazing images that are being produced with AI. And those images, unless they have a Microsoft logo or something logo on there, and they're fake, and they're shown as AI, and they're fake images, you never know where this could go. So it does need some regulations. I don't know how that's going to be possible, though.
Well, especially cross-border as well,
Yeah, cross-border, cross-country, yeah.
Okay, guys. All right. Well, look, we've got 6 minutes. That gives you 2 minutes each, guys. Ahmed, in terms of wrapping up this conversation, in terms of your key takeaway, but also with that eye to the future, if I may, what's your final thoughts?
Sure. I'll start with the change that's coming. It's disrupting. AI is disrupting the way that we do things, and any disruption, if it's faced by resistance, it will only delay us, not the change. Because other people will adapt to it. So my recommendation is not to resist, but to think how we can employ AI to make an optimization to what we're doing today, and maybe create new lines of business or new processes or new innovations in the future. So if we do this, we will make sure that we will not leave the train at any station, and while other people are still on the train. Taking into consideration that digitalization has hit, let's say, all industries, and will be hitting furthermore, and those who will not move into digital space, we will be left out. So another point I would like to add is construction industry is still behind in general. So if you look at the digital transformation from McKinsey or from any other, let's say, research analysts, you will see that education and construction are at the bottom of the list. This is not due to, let's say, lack of or negligence or lack of interest, but it's due to its complication. So when we talk about construction, we talk about consultants, which is the easy part, but talk about contractors is much more complicated. So
okay,
that's what we need to adapt.
Okay, thank you for that, and apologies. I just want to make sure Bruno and Bill get their 2 minutes worth as well. So thank you so much for that input. Bruno.
Yeah, on my side, I'll echo Ahmed. It's a change, and it's going to impact all of us. Don't get too excited thinking that we need to. You need to take it and implement it right now. But at the same time, don't think, oh no, it will never happen. It will never hit me. It will, and you need to be preparing yourself because you don't want to be left behind. That's for sure. There are two elements. One is new. It's new. We don't know. Like we just said, well, we might need regulations. How, we don't know. It's difficult to think about it. At the same time, it's moving, and it's moving very fast. And we are not used to that type of speed. We are not used to that. So of course, this is what potentially it's the additional factor that we need to consider compared to other changes that we have lived over the past few years.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Bruno. Bill, what
Yeah.
better way to finish than you, old chap?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to start with crawl, walk, run, right? Slow down, right? Stop the hype, figure out the strategy. Just because, you know, there's big companies that are saying big statements of what it will do and what it won't do, figure out tactically if that makes sense or not, right? Just because it's out there, it doesn't mean you have to jump on it. Slow down, wave through the hype, and then figure out what's right for your company.
Excellent. Okay, guys. Well, my takeaway sort of builds on everything you guys have said, which is, you know, it's about harnessing the power, but you know, as Bill said, you know, it's steady as she goes, and I think Bruno said this as well. It's making sure that you've got your strategy, and you know, I mentioned earlier, maybe it's piloting and all of that sort of stuff, but be clear, this is about augmenting the human. It's about making us better, freeing us up to focus on those harder points around change management, around people, around decision making and influencing. But if it can accelerate us so that we can get to those points more rapidly and have those debates which do ultimately take longer, then that's got to be a good thing. I'd just like to take a moment to thank you all of my panelists and all of the guests, and thank you, you know, for listening this afternoon. I hope that was useful to you all. We will make the recording available to you and your colleagues, so please look out for that in your emails. But thank you very much for sparing the time. I appreciate, you know, everybody's got busy diaries, so thank you, Ahmed, thank you, Bruno, and thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Excellent.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.